let it go for a little bit. I should have gotten some water. And I think it's streaming.
Yep. I think we're good.
And I got it muted. All right. What is up, people? It is episode 24, and it is the day before Valentine's Day, which means we are going to have a show about relationships. I can't remember what I did last year when around this time. Oh, I had like a hug challenge and all of that fun stuff. But what is amazing about today is I've got one of my old pals. We've got a lot of catching up to do, and we're going to do this all live in front of you. And I'm going to just stop rambling because I said that I was going to do that. So let's start the show. I liked saying that that's my ghetto opening because I can't figure out how to do this in a way where it's like really fancy looking. But anyways, and Kevin's laughing at me because he's like in terms of like YouTube status and people who I know who like really rock it on YouTube, he does that. So like I'm very embarrassed right now. But anyways, let me introduce you to my amazing co-host. His name is Kevin Yee, Farm D, right?
Farm D, yeah. Thank you for having me, man. I'm so blessed to be
so
here,
excited that you are here, and we are going to have so much fun. I always have so much fun whenever I talk to Kevin, and we've talked about so many different things, and we just like we jive on a level that is amazing. So today's theme is relationships and business, and I think it's interesting because we wanted to talk business stuff. We're both entrepreneurs and all that stuff, but also it being so close to Valentine's Day, I was like, let's talk a little bit about relationships. And it doesn't need to be love relationships, but relationships play a role in everything we do, whether it be business, romantically, the relationship with ourselves, all those fun stuff, all that blah 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 blah. Okay, so before we start, Kevin, why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Well, so my name is Kevin Yee. If you see this cool logo on my shirt, it's my personal brand. It's called Refugee Hustle. So I manage a personal development thing there, and I have a YouTube channel. But my main money maker right now is that I run a high ticket closing agency. So yeah, that's a little bit what I do. And
Want to explain to people what high ticket closing agency is?
Oh yeah, man. So it's like how I like to explain it to people. It's essentially like I'm a consultant at the end of the day, right? So people want, like, when you go buy a car or really something really, really expensive, maybe it's like a real estate course or package and you're not sure whether it's for you or not. Typically me or my team will just get on the phone with you and just make sure that you feel good about it, you feel confident about it, and make sure that it actually helps you. So that's pretty much what I do. We do like closing and marketing and stuff. So yeah, that's a little bit what I've been up to.
I love it. And there is a lot of relationship aspects of this business that he does, which is really cool. And we're going to talk about how we met, which you weren't doing that when we met, right? We met at Forefront 20.
Yeah.
Was that No, that was 2016.
Dude,
right?
that was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
2017. Yeah. I keep on because it's 2019. Yeah. I keep on forgetting. Yeah, so it's almost 2 years.
Yeah.
It was later in 20.
It was October. It was October.
Yeah.
Of that time. Yeah.
But it was so fun, and like what I love about it is how did I even bump into you? Like I bumped into you, like you were standing at the bar, you weren't even drinking, and you were sick, and
yeah.
I was just kind of like exhausted and like quiet. And I think you asked me this question, like, so like what are you? I don't think you said that, but I'm not really sure. No. But it was a question that I was like, ooh, it's a deep question. Let's start talking. And we talked at this party. It was like a Saturday night, like social event at Museum of Science and
Museum of like Science or something like that.
Yeah. So, which is like all the way on the south side of Chicago. And then we rode the bus back and we were just like talking about like all this philosophy. And he's like, like coughing.
Dude,
And
I
I was
was
like, I'm so,
dying.
you had the chills and everything too,
Dude,
right?
I had influenza. Like now I look back at it, I was like, huh, what did I have that day? And I was like, oh shoot, my pharmacy knowledge tells me that I have influenza. And I didn't know. I probably wouldn't have went if I knew that, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't get sick, so that's good. I
Oh
was
my
just
God.
exhausted and burned out from whatever I was doing, which was
Yeah.
crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad, and we've had so many different conversations, and have just kind of been following each other's journeys throughout, and it's been great. So yeah. So what's something that you geek out on that is not business related? Something maybe unique that people don't know about you, or like that would be like the fun fact.
Dude, recently I've been like going really, really hard on like MMA and jujitsu, especially jujitsu, man. It's funny because like I know it's not like business related, but because like I'm so like a lot of marketers, they love jujitsu. I've been connecting with a lot of business people about jujitsu and stuff, and I've been just creating a lot of YouTube content surrounding around jujitsu and stuff and doing cool moves and stuff. Yeah, so it's really, really fun.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And there was some post, I don't know if it was an Instagram post or something, but it was
Yeah,
like a video of you like tripping up somebody and you were like looking at the camera and then all of a sudden like they looked and then you were like, "Oh." But then you had this like little icon that came on your face and it was like the music or it was like, "I am the one, whatever."
yeah,
This is a funny thing. That thing, whatever was part of that music or whatever,
yeah.
my son, my older son, Justin, would like say that. And I'm like, what is that? And it's probably something like either you saw on YouTube or whatever. And then I showed them that video and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. They were like in love with you at that point. They were like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know, but it made
Uh,
me laugh. So that's my friend. So I
that's so
thought that was
uh,
hilarious.
yeah, it was freaking hilarious because that was all real. I did not plan that, by the way. I was just, hey, look over there. It was spur of the moment. I just shoot for this like cool roll and stuff. I get them in a leg lock. And I don't know what made me want to look like when I was reviewing the footage. I was like, whoa, I'm looking at the camera like that. Let's add some cool memes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad your kids liked it, man.
Yeah, it was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
I have to maybe I should have done or looked at that up so I could show everybody because it was just so funny. Okay, the next thing is an icebreaker question. I've been going through these icebreakers. I feel like I should start asking people if they want to go, try the vulnerable, more deep questions.
Let's go
But
deep. Let's
you
go
want to go deep?
deep. Yeah,
Okay.
let's go deep.
So some of them might be like I don't know. Some of them like make me feel uncomfortable, but okay,
I'm
we'll do
open as a book.
so, okay, so as of today, we are going to
Yes.
either do an icebreaker question or the get vulnerable question. So I'll let people choose. From this point forward, you get to start that trend. Okay, so here's the question. Okay, oh my God, I feel like this is like totally meant for us to be. What about your parents do you not want to replicate in your own life?
What about what my parents do that I don't want to replicate in my
What about your parents do
Mhm.
you not want to replicate in your own life? So what did they do or how are they as a people that you don't want to
Oh,
replicate? Oh my God, mom and dad don't watch this. I feel like the last time when you were like interviewing me, my mom was like in the next room and I was like,
yeah.
Mom, I'm not saying anything bad, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
man.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love you, mom.
Yeah.
I love you, mom. I love you, dad. Okay. All right.
Yeah, let me think about that. Well, I'll tell you this, man. Like, I wish, like, one thing I know I'm gonna do with my kids is like really, really, really support them, like, to the, like, really support them. I feel like in my Asian household and stuff, my dad wasn't really there, or he wasn't really supportive with anything I did, and I grew up with a lot of like self confidence issues. I didn't feel very confident or very certain about a lot of things in life. And so that's one thing I would just like be there, like I think about moments where, even my own father, he didn't show up to my high school graduation. And that was like the beginning of our relationship. So started off kind of rocky, but
Yeah. My
of
mom didn't go
course.
to my high school graduation either, or college
How,
graduation. She didn't go. She was mad at me.
really? How did you feel about that, man?
I was upset, but I know that she was also upset, and we're both stubborn. So it's one of those things where, like, you can't take that back. And did she really want to miss that? Like,
Yeah.
when, especially in Asian culture, like,
Yeah.
education's so important. Like, I'm graduating with an electrical engineering degree from a top university, and you're not there to see it. She was there for like the big, whole school one, but the engineering one she didn't show up for. And it was because of
Mm.
something that I did the night before. I kind of stood up to her in a way, and she didn't like that. And I know that that was disrespectful. So I get it, but it's also one of those things like, oh, would I ever be so mad that I would do that to my child? I don't know. And
Mm.
I was really upset about it, but it was also one of those things where I was like, okay, I guess this is what's happening. But I
Mm.
love my mom, and I would never be like, okay, I'm disowning you as my mom because you did that. No, and I don't know. I
Mm.
feel bad that if she watches this, she's gonna feel bad. But I love
Well,
you, mommy. I do love you seriously. But it was, yeah, it just sucked. My
well,
dad was
can I
there.
ask you
My
something? Like,
co-host
did you ever talk about it with her at all?
Mm-mm.
Never.
No.
Wow.
Um, I don't know. I mean, and because I know that it would probably like reiterate a fight, and I've come to
Mm.
peace with it, so I'm okay with it. It's not like
Yeah.
something that I'm like, oh God, I'm still mad at you about, but it's definitely a memory. That's definitely something that I hopefully won't do to my children, but I'll probably do something else that my kids will be like, I hate you, mom, but I love you. Okay, sorry, I like jeopardized your whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
so being supportive, yeah. I feel like, I mean, I think that for me, and this is probably very obvious just because of the
Mm.
work that I do. I think that um, to put so much weight on things that are happening in terms of uh, manifesting whatever success you want in your life. I think that there's the piece of me that wants to make sure that I focus on prioritizing as little stress as possible. And
Yeah.
my husband doesn't stress out almost ever, so that's going to help a lot. But I
Yin
think,
and yang.
yeah, I think it's like really looking at the bigger picture of like, oh my gosh, I didn't get into this university. Like, is your life over? No. I
Yeah.
don't want to weigh like you didn't get an A. I'm gonna, you're in trouble. Even though
Yeah.
I want to set high standards, so I'm actually struggling with that right now because I'm like,
Mm.
I want you to, I want you to try your hardest. If you don't get if you don't get the 100% or whatever, I don't want to get upset with you about it, but I also don't want you just like being like, it doesn't really matter. Like it does matter, but I don't
Yeah.
want it to be like this is the thing that defines you. So that
How do you kind of balance it right now?
I don't know. It's so hard because we live in a very competitive environment. Just like North Shore, Chicago is just the schools are great and it gets really competitive and everyone wants to
Mm.
go to Ivy League schools and everything like that. And so, um, I think it's really trying to watch how they push themselves.
Mm.
And there's one thing to be like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna just try, and if I don't, then it's not a big deal. But if they're beating themselves up, I don't want them to go to the extremes where they're like, I don't want to
Mm.
study because this doesn't really matter. I want them
Yeah.
to understand why it's important to do well, but I don't want them to be perfectionists about it. And my
Yeah.
younger son he has perfectionist tendencies. It's like, if I can't do this in the way that I'm supposed to, like, I don't want to do it at all. So I've been fighting with him a lot about that. And I'm like looking at a mirror because I used to do that the same thing to me, but I wasn't, my parents were like, yep, that's what we expect for you to do. and
Yeah.
and it's fine because I was so driven that I accomplished a lot. But then there's this like mind fuck of like, oh God, like if I don't get on a TED talk, or if I don't get on, if I don't have my own TV show 30 years from now when I'm like gray and whatever, like that's a failure. And I don't want them to look at it that way.
Yeah, it's very common, especially like if you, it's not even like if you grow up in an Asian family, but especially if you're in an Asian community, man, that's like something I struggle with even right now as like a 30-year-old man. I'm trying to reverse all those things I learned as a child, man,
Yeah.
with that perfectionist. So I totally understand, man.
Yeah. And I think that that's a lot of why we connected so well on it. And it's
Yeah.
just, it is interesting to see that there's so many of us Asian people who struggle with this thing. And
Yeah.
there's like, where's the support around navigating that? Because it's like, it's
Yeah.
good to be ambitious. It's good to be driven, but to what extent is it too much? So
And that's why I really connected with your book too, man. Like it was just talking about your childhood. I was like, oh, this is me. This is me. I'm not sure if I did it with you, but I was taking pictures. I'm not sure if I sent them to you or anything like that, but they're just like pieces of that I just really, really related with a lot, man. And
yeah.
so, yeah, man.
Yeah. So So we're buds. We are
Yeah.
buds. Okay. So let's move on. I want to because I'm like, I want to talk about this relationships and business stuff. We just kind of like went right
Yeah,
into
we just
all the
like
info stuff.
segued, man. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Um, everyone that comes on the show, I ask them to scour the internet or their communities or whatever for a cheerful news story so that we
Yeah.
can just spread news further and continue to put positive things out in the world. So I'm gonna start because I think I totally missed the one missed sharing mine from last show. I was like, we were so excited about the other person, the other my other co-hosts, the and I thought ladies. They shared something and we just went off on a tangent, and then I was like, okay, and then we just went into our topic. But so I'm gonna share mine first, if that's okay.
Sure. I'm totally
Um,
cool with that.
and this is the one that I picked from the last time, so I was like, I'm gonna just hold this. So this is from earlier January, and I found this article about a school that was looking for male mentors for this event that they were doing, and
Mhm.
they wanted 50 male mentors for this event to, you know, I think this was for kids who didn't have a dad. I think it was like dads who were going to it was like invite your dad to school day
Mhm.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And like now that my screen is like there's a pop-up, I can't get out of it. So basically the article was like they were asking for 50 men to
Mhm.
be mentors at this for any of the kids who didn't have father figures to show up at this event for whatever reason. And like 600, or maybe I think it was 500, I can't see my article right now. 600 showed up. 600 or 500, hundreds. Okay, 600 showed up, and I just think that that's amazing. And this was in
Where
Texas,
was it?
I think. Yeah, in
Mm.
Dallas. So it was a breakfast with dads event.
Oh,
So
that's cute.
50 turned into 600, and so
Yeah.
that's just awesome. And like one of the things that they did was to show these boys how to tie a tie and all that stuff. So I
Oh,
thought
that's
that
cute.
was,
Like adulting type of skills, right? I love it.
yeah, and just like having those male figures in their lives. So that was my cheerful story. Okay,
Dude,
your turn.
I love it. So I actually went on Reddit and do you ever go on Reddit, April?
My ex-boyfriend works at Reddit.
Oh.
So I think I'm still friends with him. Hi, Joel. But yeah. So I'm not on there too often, but every once in a while, if I'm trying to search something, it'll be some sort of thread that is on Reddit. So, but I don't go. It's not necessarily my go-to source of information, but I know that it's.
Yeah. Well, one of the random threads that my one of my teammates was telling me about, because I was actually, it's so funny. I was trying to prepare for this and I was just like, man, I can't find a freaking article or anything like that.
It's
And she said,
hard, right?
it's hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard because the
And
news is like,
and that's the funny thing. It's just kind of
yeah,
like, when is this going to turn around?
yeah,
And I do see other news stations or radio stations, like they'll like scour for positive news, but it's hard
yeah,
to find because everything has like this negative spin on it, and especially when it's like you took a negative event and spun it into a positive. Like
yeah,
a lot of the positive events are always based off of like something sad. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you're
But
on Reddit.
do you mind if I share my screen for a second?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, cool. I loved. Let's open this up. So I've been actually checking out this thing called our random acts of kindness, and there's a whole thread. I think you really like it, honestly.
Hmm.
But I found this really cool thing. It's 26 days old, but let me read it. I've really been struggling with money lately, being on welfare and waiting for my new job to start. I recently posted a photo of my bill on Facebook because something about it confused me. I got this message earlier and I was just so shocked about how lovely it was. I didn't know how to respond. And it says like, hi, a friend told me that you're actually one of those rare reasonable people and needed a break. So I paid the outstanding balance of your phone bill. I hope this helps. Have a wonderful weekend.
Mm,
And yeah, it's just like one of those moments where it's like, dude, I have faith in humanity.
yeah.
I actually have faith in humanity again. And I think it's like one of the topics was that we're talking about today is about relationship and business. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes like we have this, like, I'm not sure if everyone has it, but I know certain people have this connotation that rich people are like assholes or rich people are greedy.
Hmm.
But it just goes to show you that when you have more money, you can give so much to other people. And I love that abundance mindset and helping other people. So
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
absolutely. And
story.
it's like, especially when you are comfortable and somebody you care about is struggling, like that.
Yeah.
And but for this, it's like you're a total stranger, you know, or so
Yeah.
you knew somebody, it was somebody of somebody, and hey, I'm gonna do that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, those types of things where you get that free. I mean, and it's just amazing how even something that small can impact you in so many positive ways, right?
Yeah.
I just sent out every day that we do these shows, I send out a newsletter. And like one of the things um, I had mentioned was like I'm very grateful for the life that I have. I'm very comfortable, financially very stable, everything's good. But like the last few weeks were a freaking shit show for me. And
Yeah.
I like, you know, I my lowest point was like sitting in the car with my dog with the car running, and like couldn't go into my house, and like bawling my eyes out, and like feeling like I had nowhere to go, and like no
Yeah.
friends, and just very feeling very lonely. And then turning around to like just some little like acknowledgement of like, hey, like, you know, there's good in the world.
Yeah.
And good things can happen. It's just sometimes stuff sucks.
Yeah.
And so it's just amazing how some little thing, if you're feeling like at the lowest of the low, like can really turn you, like turn everything around. And it could be the smallest thing, like, hey, I found a nickel on the floor, yay, you know.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how that can happen. So for some,
Yeah.
that's
I
amazing.
I love that. And like I actually kind of resonated with you for a second. Like when you're talking about your lowest moment being in the car and stuff, like I
Mhm.
remember like maybe a year or two, end of 2017, like my dad was in the hospital. I just got fired from my job and like because of social media. And I was just like, man, like life is just handing me all these shit cards right now. And I don't know where my future is going. Like I don't know if I want to stay in pharmacy. I don't know what's gonna happen. And
Mhm.
I just remember like one of my really close pharmacy friends, I she sends me like told her what happened, man. And I just remember she like sent me like $100 and she was just like, Merry Christmas, Kevin. I hope everything gets better. And then one of my fans too, she like I'm really close with her. She sent me the same thing too. And I was just, man, I'm just so grateful. It just those moments, man, it just makes you realize that I'm like what you have in your life, like the things to be grateful for. Like always been so grateful to have kick-ass relationships in my life, man. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
there's one more thing
Okay.
that we have to do
Do it.
before we dive into our theme. So, sorry everybody who's waiting to talk about the serious stuff, but we have to do some fun stuff first. So, we were talking about, and I maybe did this a long time ago in one of my former episodes, but I did this thing called camera roll.
Okay.
And so we decided to do a little like uh, quick spin on the whole camera roll thing, and we're doing this. What was you called it, or it's a game or something that you said, like
Oh
where
man. It's like from Hot Ones, you know, where
Scotland.
like celebrities eat like spicy wings and stuff and they have to answer questions and yeah. So
Yeah. So what we're doing, just to set the stage, is we have scoured each other's Instagram pictures, and we're going to show each other pictures from each other's profiles, whatever you call them,
yeah.
and you have to explain what's going on in that photo.
Yeah.
So
Do it.
should we just go back and forth, or I don't know, maybe we'll do you share your screen and then I'll
Okay.
so that we don't have to like share back and forth and
Okay.
waste that
Cool.
way. Okay, you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay. Just so that I know like what to ask you. I just pulled three pictures and I'll
All
just
right. I pulled three pictures. I pulled three posts too. So I'm gonna
oh
share my
no.
screen. Yeah. Wait, let me see which one I know this. I want this one to be the first one.
Oh god.
All right.
Look at my face. I'm like watching myself like
Dude.
oh yeah.
I can I play the video really quick?
Yeah, if it works, go for it.
Yeah, it does. What the heck is going on here, man?
um it's okay, so when I was like heavy into doing trapeze, we would do all these really random gatherings with all our circus friends and just do it. And so the that was actually next to where the trapeze rig is, and we just got a whole group of people together to do bubble soccer. And
Yeah.
it was intense. Like it hurt more than trapeze at some point because like people were like literally like slamming into each other, and it was awful, but it was so fun. It was so fun. And then I think that I don't know if I have another video of that, but I got stuck like upside down and I couldn't stand back up. So yeah, it was a super fun day. So,
That's funny. Cool.
all right.
Should I
Number
go again or do you want to
Yeah,
go?
just so that. Oh well, I guess I could go because you are not sharing your screen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let me get this going. Okay. And this is not as funny, but I was just like, "Ooh, tell me a little bit about this,
Sure.
or what was happening at that time." So here is the one that I want to share. So the reason that I picked this too is because the thing on the block at the top reminded me of Hawaii. But then I was like, okay, just tell me what's going on in this photo.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. I got like Goku glasses and Goku gear and stuff. But yeah, it was really interesting because we're in Vegas and we're trying to check out a boba shop, and I found these really cool Jenga pieces that somebody actually drew on. Like I'm not sure if you ever been to boba shops and stuff, but
Yeah,
Jenga,
I
yeah.
was just at one on Sunday.
But they always have like Jenga. That seems like the common theme. And I was like, this is really creative. I love it. It says over 9,000 Kamehameha. So
Yes.
yeah, man, I've always been a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. So yeah.
Cool, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
your turn.
All right. This is fun. I like this.
Yeah. My next one's funny. Oh yeah. That was this October. I feel like that's not so long ago. Yeah, so we go to the those pop-up Halloween shops that I don't know, do they have those in LA? They Yeah, we just go and the kids choose their stuff, and Justin really wanted to be, what's his name? Is it Jason or no, yeah, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually just bought like a hockey mask that was white, and we threw like fake blood all over it. And then my other son, like he was having trouble deciding what he wanted, and then he found this like swamp thing. And then I was like, okay, well, I gotta dress up. I was actually gonna wear that during my like show, but it was so big, and I spent a whole day like just on Instagram. I wore the outfit the entire Halloween. And there was actually a guy who came over, was trick or treating with his kids, and he was in a poop emoji costume too, and
Yeah.
took a picture together, and we were like poop, like screaming across the street because it's like mayhem in our neighborhood.
But how did like my real question was like how did you decide to be a poop emoji of all the things that you could have been?
I feel like that's like my favorite emoji. Like I have a hat, one of my fedoras, like there's a hello, my name is, and I wrote poop emoji. Like I don't know, there's something about that emoji. It's like we're related. So I was like, I had to embody that. So
So funny.
okay. Picture number 2. Okay, here we go. All right. Tell me about this photo. Like you're like, I don't know, you've got like the sexy eyes and you're just like up against the wall. Like what was this about?
It's really funny. In high school, one of my lifelong dreams was actually go to Atlanta. And so
Okay.
I went to Atlanta and we ended up at this club. It was a hip hop club and whatnot. They had cool murals and stuff. I
Yeah.
remember stepping in, I was like, wow, I'm like the only Asian here. So, anyways, like as we were leaving, I was like, hey, let's take a cool picture here. And my friend was like, pose. So I was like, okay, sure. Like I'll do my mother model pose. And it
Yeah.
was really fun. It was that's the story of it.
I
But
love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. One more photo.
All right. Hold on. Let me switch the image. There we go. This one.
Ah, yes. Okay. And this is recent. Okay. So, oh my God, am I going to talk about this right now? So, my photographer, I went and did a full day photo shoot. They did like hair and makeup and awesome. And I still have like photos that I haven't shared that I'm going to, and I actually can't share all of them. But this one was a photo where I was like, okay, I want to be uncomfortable, do something that I am not like It's not comfortable. So what was funny was, so I picked, we discussed this outfit, and it's a little bit on the provocative side, but it's relatively clean. But so she had me like do some poses, and it's one of those things where it's like not the most comfortable. And so let me just say that I was wearing that like mesh top and not much else underneath. So I basically like exposed myself, and then I like immediately, because I'm so like bashful and insecure, sometimes I like just started laughing, and so she photographed my laughing, and I look like a horse because I'm like laughing so hard. But yeah, so that's that photo.
I love that
Thinking
photo. It's
something
very
that made me
candid.
feel uncomfortable. You can just like watch me like, oh my god.
No, I loved it because it's the expression of like your vulnerability,
Yeah.
man. I love it. So
Yeah,
that's my
and I think that one of those things was, it's just enough where there's not anything there that you wouldn't see like a celebrity do, or maybe I don't know, but it's pushing the envelope just a little bit, but it's not anything that's like whoa. But so it's more of the memory of like I did that, and it's scary, but hey,
yeah.
you know, let's just try it. So that was awesome. Okay, here's the last one. I just thought this was cute, and I just I don't even know what you're gonna say about it, but I don't even really have a question. But this is
Hope I
the
remember
third
it.
photo that I picked. I just
Dude, it's so
yeah, I mean, you
funny.
had already like put on like some like other like hats, but I was like, A, the hat is super cute, and B, um, like is it? It looks like it's not cold because you're wearing a t-shirt. So and then just the face, like it was so funny.
Dude, so I was actually a huge Just Kidding Films fan.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's like one of the characters Uncle Sam wears, right? And so I actually, when I first met them in person, it was at Northeastern University in Boston. And
Okay.
so I actually bought this hat and I was cleaning out the trunk of my car. And at this point, I was actually roommates with them too. I was like roommates with them too. So it was really funny. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just snap a quick picture of this, post on Instagram, and then send it to my roommates too, just for good memories.
I love it.
And I don't know, man. That's like the face. I have no idea, man.
Just trying to
Yeah,
make a statement. So
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Love
yeah.
it. Okay, so that was fun. That was a fun exercise,
Like
and
that.
I'll have to do that again with some other people down the road after I post more pictures. I've been a little MIA on Instagram lately.
Yeah.
Um, is the summer or winter hibernation mode. Okay, now let's start talking about relationships and business. And so, um, we were talking about um the relationships piece kind of comes from this idea of like, hey, it's Valentine's Day. Let's talk about relationships. I like
Yeah.
talking about that right now. But this is not necessarily love relationships happening in business is not what we're talking about. But what is it? I mean, relationships are so important
Yeah.
in anything we do, especially in business.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I wanted to maybe start with is just like, as anyone who's a business owner, you have to have certain types of relationships in business. One of them might be, just even like a mentorship relationship, right? I think I have a coach who helps me in all aspects of life, but a lot of it is kind of supporting me while I'm going on this journey as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and navigating some of those things. And so that's one example of a relationship that you want to have in business, somebody that you can look to or maybe even aspire to be,
Mhm.
who has maybe done, been there and done that and have experienced things, and you can draw information from their experiences and use them to inform your own. But then there's other ones like, I'll let you throw
Well,
some.
there's like, yeah, so that's a great one. I love the mentorship one. There's there's also like if you have clients too, your relationship between you and your clients as
Yeah,
well.
people who
Um
are making you money.
yeah, your revenue stream,
Yeah,
like
you're right.
you got to make sure that they're happy and that you're actually solve not only they're happy, but sometimes like you just got to make sure that you're actually serving them and that everything's clear between you and your clients.
Yeah.
And then I think one that has been really the most important one for me recently has been me and my teammates and stuff, the people who work under me or with me or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think those are major relationships
And I
with me.
think too, yeah, and I think that there's also then the collaborative relationships that you have where
Oh
you
yeah.
have, even just like you and me,
Yeah.
like we are not necessarily like in the same space of, what we're selling, right? But
Yeah.
there's how do we kind of align and support each other in those ways. And so
Yeah.
those collaborative, is it like joint venture partnerships? Sometimes they
Sort of, but I think our relationship was more of like, yeah, more collaborative. It's pretty funny. I just like I remember like around this time last year, like you were on my channel and now I'm on your channel. And like I share your book with my viewers and readers on my email list. And
yeah.
one of my close friends actually has you as a client right now too. So I mean, you're he's getting coached by you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
so that is, it is really interesting. And I think that, all of these different types of relationships are important, right? I mean, there's the people who are, you look up to, people who are looking up to you. There's the people who are, helping you, like just, you're running alongside each other, or they're your support team.
yeah.
And so, all of these relationships are necessary. And I think one of the questions that I wanted to ask in
Mm,
just to get a sense of what you think
yeah.
is, how do you surround yourself with around, or how do you get the right people to be surrounding you? Because I was thinking about like going to networking events and having a lot of different conversations with various clients about
Mm,
like, oh, I got to go meet new people. And
yeah.
sometimes you can go to a networking event and absolutely get like not the right people, or you could
Yeah.
join an organization and feel like that's not your peeps.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that the people who you're surrounding yourself with, whether it be your mentor or people who work for you or people you collaborate with, or your own clients, how do you make sure that they're the right fit?
Well, yeah, my marketing brain is like, hey, if you're going to an event, you can run a Facebook ad like around that area. But on a more serious note, my mentor, like one of my online mentors, like Dan Locke and Dan Pena, they always say that they like good people, you don't go to good people, they come to you. And this is going to go a little woo-woo, but
Do it.
I think you kind of like project a certain energy out there, whether it's through your content, the way you carry yourself. I mean, think about us that day, right?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why exactly I approached you out of everyone at Forefront, but you're one of the first people I actually
You're like,
approached
I've
that
never
day.
seen this chick before.
I've never seen her, so let's get to
And
know
she's
her
just
and
standing
just
there like oh.
yeah. And so I think that's a great way sometimes. It's just like, hey, how like she's not talking to anyone. This is a networking event, so let's just chat and get to know each other.
Yeah,
And
it's like,
I think that's really important too. Just have a general curiosity of like people that's so important.
yeah.
But as far as like meeting the right people, well, are you going to the right events, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
yeah. If I'm going to like if I want to meet men and I'm going to like a women's entrepreneur group, probably not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Like not as high chance, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I think too, when you think about just networking in general,
yeah.
it's, you also want to go into any event knowing, what is it that I want to get out of it. Um,
Mm,
and
clear
I
intention.
will say that at at Forefront, where when we met, I think I was at a point where I was kind of like burned out on like networking because I had done so much of it. At that year was just so crazy with just my book coming out and just being there. And I was like, I actually didn't even know Ramit, the person who was, running this event. And I was like, this is an opportunity to meet some new people. And I would say even as a whole that I don't even know if the vibe of the event, or the type of people were like my people, but there's
Yeah,
definitely like some really solid relationships that I've made from that, because it was just that subset. So it was like I
yeah,
kind of vibed, but not fully. And that was why I was like standing by myself, like I don't know what to do. And I get introverted in big crowds anyways, and so
yeah,
I don't have anyone to kind of like latch on to.
yeah,
I'm like lost trying to fend for myself. So it was just good where it was like, you just need to say hello and then I will just let the floodgates open, which is what happened.
yeah.
with
And
us.
I think like one more thing I want to add is like, especially in this digital age too, like we have social media things like Facebook and whatnot.
Mhm.
Dude, friends are friends, man. Sometimes we underestimate the power of that. And I think like, you're a friend of Tam. And I was like, oh shoot, we get along really well.
Yeah.
Who else are our mutual friends and who are the friends of the friends, right? And I think in those type of cases, like we can actually capitalize on that and shoot him a quick video and just be like, hey, what's up? I'm Kevin. I do it all the time. It's really fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I think that that's totally great. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say about like surrounding yourself with the right people. I mean,
How do you do it, April?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I think it's also like on the business side of things, I feel like it's hard. Like one
Mm,
example, I went to my I somebody had mentioned, maybe you can check, other people who are business owners in your space, like go to your
mm,
local chamber of commerce, right?
mm.
Um my chamber of commerce is not me at all. Like it's very like salesy, very pitchy, very um
Yeah.
kind of old school. Like those relationships of people that have been there for a really, really long time. There's not a lot of like opportunity to bring people in from the
Yeah.
outside, and I felt very young, and I don't I also feel like, I'm a life coach, and yeah, there's a couple other coaches in the community, but it's like they're already established, so like who am I? And some of it was partially me too. Like the events were happening like 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night, and I have young kids, and so that's hard.
Yeah.
And like it was just kind of like they're able to conduct business in a way that I'm not really able to conduct business right now. So how do I do it? But a
Mm,
lot of the people who I have networked with are people who I've met at conferences.
yeah.
Some of them become my clients. Some of them become collaborators. Some of them, like, we just, that's kind of where it's at. And
Yeah.
when I think about the mentor piece, I mean, I think you have to think about too, like who has kind of already walked the walk and how do you find them, right? And so like
Yeah.
my coach right now, I've been with her for almost 3 years. Love her.
Sweet.
She is amazing, but it was we didn't know each other beforehand, but she had known somebody that I was following, and
Mm,
then she was a business coach, and then she quit her business coaching practice, and
yeah.
I found her at a time when she was making transitions, and I was starting to realize how I
Yeah.
wanted to run my business and how that was different from the business coaching models that a lot that kind of show up a lot in our um, in the on the internet and all that stuff. And so that was just a really great way of like, wow, her marketing language actually spoke to me in terms of
Yeah.
the types of things that she's experienced and that I've experienced, and having that common thread. So I think it's also, it is really what you put out, because sometimes you might be trying to speak to somebody that you don't know yet,
Yeah.
and you have to kind of talk to that person and hope that from a customer seller standpoint, you have to make sure that you can kind of reiterate the pain that they might be feeling, even though that you don't know
Yeah.
what they're, who they are and what their business
Yeah.
truly is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is,
Sure.
we have business relationships, and then we have like relationships outside our business, family,
Yeah.
friends, all of those things.
Yeah.
And especially in this day and age, like the lines can get kind of murky. It's just
Yeah.
because of how people meet each other these days. It's not like, oh, I met somebody at school, or you could literally meet somebody on the internet and they could become a romantic relationship,
Yeah, that's true.
or a business relationship, and you just don't know. And so
Yeah.
how do you balance those two different types of relationships? um, do you keep them separate? Do you intermingle them? Like what do
Yeah.
you do?
I think for myself, I don't bounce at all. And I think that's like the thing is like when I do business with someone, it's the most intimate form of relationship. So I want to make sure like I think about like typically when you meet someone, you go through three stages: know, like, and trust.
Mhm.
And like it's similar with friends, man. Like I trust my friends. Like I know and like and trust my friends.
Mhm.
So wouldn't I want that? Wouldn't I want the same thing for someone I'm doing business with?
Yeah.
And at the ultimate form of trust, like you have to communicate. Sometimes you're gonna have, I mean, we all get into it. Like sometimes with your really close friends, you get into fights sometimes, or even romantic relationships.
Yeah.
So for me, like I have no balance really. And I like when I reach out to people, it's because I actually want to meet them. I
Yeah.
think they're really cool people, you
Yeah.
know? And so I don't balance. How
Yeah,
about
and
yourself?
I don't think, and I think by saying balance, you're not saying that you keep them separate, right? Like
No, yeah,
you
yeah,
treat everybody the same way.
yeah,
And I think that that's, I mean, I'm the same way. And so what's interesting about this, because some people like, just like when you don't like mix family with money, right? It's like you
yeah.
like loan because it can cause problems. There is that line though where, if you become like friends with them as part of as part of it. And it's also hard from a coaching perspective because um
Yeah,
yeah, and I mean this is specific to my business because you have to say the things that you wouldn't necessarily want to say to a friend. But then there's
yeah,
also I've run into multiple situations where like I have a very personal relationship with all of my clients, no matter what. Like I look at them as all friends and I want to see them if I can, but I also
yeah.
know that there's that business relationship. But there might be times where, it gets murky. Like even just if a friend of mine wanted to use my services, like that's where
Yeah.
it kind of gets like when you're friends first and then you like turn into business. I feel like there's a little murkiness there.
Especially for like coaching and stuff, I could see the differentiating factor. Like for something like me, if I'm doing your marketing or if I'm doing your closing or sales, it's pretty there's a pretty big differentiator. But I'm kind of curious, how do you kind of like distinguish like
I
what's
don't know.
friends and
I mean, I think sometimes, I mean, because we are trained to
yeah,
stay out of that person's box, right?
yeah,
And I feel like that's hard for me just as somebody who just is so empathetic about
yeah,
everything. So even if like I don't want to get in your box, I am going to get in your box, right? Like it just like I'm going to do it and that's just going to be part of my coaching, but at the same time I also have to be able to let go,
mm,
which is the hardest thing, right? Because I have to
yeah,
take emotions out of it, right? So like I've had situations where, I've had a business relationship with a friend.
yeah,
One who, I paid for their services so that I could do certain things. And then a miscommunication or something turns this whole thing like, and all of a sudden you don't just lose the business relationship, but then you lose the friendship too, which
yeah.
sucks. It sucks. Um, and
It's yeah.
I just I actually don't think I've figured it out. I mean, and I
Mm,
feel like I've got like a little open wound on some
yeah.
like recent things that have happened where I'm like, I want to lead with love, right? I want to engage with everyone. Like, I fully trust you, and there's no reason for me to not trust you otherwise. But then I get burned. And then it's like, okay, then I have to emotionally detach or let go from the
Yeah.
situation. But it was like, and if I were to keep them separate as like a
Mm,
business relationship or a friendship, and I just never muddied the waters, it would be so much easier to let go. And now because of the way that I choose to conduct business, and so I'm telling everybody I'm choosing to do this. It it emotionally is hard when I lose a client because I've invested like I'm invested in who they are and being in their lives.
yeah.
And then there's the like, sorry, but like I want to stop, and I have to be okay with that and not beat myself up. And know that it's a business. Like I need to kind of separate the two and then figure it out. So I
Yeah.
mean, but I've experienced everything from like we were friends first and then we were working together, or we didn't know each other but then we became friends, or we were in a business partnership and then all of a sudden like the tables turn and the roles are reversed where there's I paid them and then they're paying me or something like that. I've experienced all of those things, and I
Yeah.
every time I'm like I'm just gonna go there even though I know that I probably shouldn't, and I'm probably hurting myself emotionally because I do that, but I don't know if I could do it any other way, like especially with
Well,
the type of work I do.
yeah, and I've kind of I don't want to say I've been in your shoes, but I know like what it feels like to lose a client, and it freaking sucks. But
Yeah.
I always try to remember whether it's a good friend or a good client is like, am I serving their best interest? Like, what am I? Is it helping them by me not serving them? And it makes it a lot easier for me. Like for me, like I just feel like money is just like one of those amplifiers in life, right? It intensifies the relationship
Yeah.
intimately,
Totally.
right? If you're just meeting somebody on Tinder versus getting married to someone, money makes that relationship a lot more intense, and you have to be a lot more communicative about things. Same with business, that's my take on it.
Yeah.
But if you fall out of, I guess, like, if you add money to a mix of friends and the friendship wasn't that strong and you guys don't communicate,
Yeah.
maybe in my head, maybe it's not meant to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean that's the huge defining factor. And I mentioned this in my book, and I mentioned, like, when it comes down to it, relationships is all about communication.
Yeah,
Every relationship that is no longer in existence, that used to be there and is not there before, is because of that lack of communication.
yeah,
And every time it fails. And for me, it's so hard because it's like I'm so communicative and I'm like, I want to talk through everything. I want to know, like, okay, so you were thinking this, and I'm so like attached to the logic of like what made you react this way, what made you, respond this way, and why are you so upset? And some people are so avoidant when it comes to conflict and communication. Like, I will go there, like, and even if it like makes me sick to my stomach, I just want to be like, I want to just talk it out. I just want to like give you my side of the story. I want to hear your side of the story. And then I just want to be able to get to a place where, we can both continue to operate. Because if we're going to break the trust, or if something's going to happen where we don't see eye to eye and we just sweep it under the rug, it's going to resurface again.
yeah,
And if we don't talk about it, it will come back and it will continue to intensify until it breaks.
yeah,
So a lot of times when maybe we can shift this to like when you're first meeting somebody, like
yeah,
how do you decide like if you're going to trust somebody?
yeah,
Um, a lot of times when I meet somebody, like I am definitely sizing them up in terms of like, okay, do I do I go there with you, and do I
yeah,
just open the floodgates and just be very open because I am such an open person,
yeah,
um, or are there going to be signals where I'm going to throw my wall up?
yeah,
And there's like a huge disparity between what I do, because 98% of the time I will just go in assuming that you are the kindest, kind-hearted person who would never like wish malicious, like ill will towards people, and I just
yeah,
go there, and until you tell me otherwise, it's like I can't trust you.
yeah.
um what do you do?
Dude, I lead with vulnerability, man. And I think about before I go into that, like, I think it's important to know, like, what kind of relationships do I want, not only with my friends, business, and romantic, right? Like, what kind of relationship do I want? And I want someone who is receptive to vulnerability. So
Yeah.
if, like, I open up about my story, like my story about like me getting fired, or like me losing my father, like, if I open up and they're like, whoa, that's too much, like, you know what, maybe it's not the right thing. And I think the first thing I like to tell people, I don't open up with my deepest stories immediately. That's just kind of weird a little bit.
Mhm.
But I think the thing is that I just tell people, hey, I just love meeting cool people, man. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
I love to find ways to help you if I can.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just like my frame. And if it's not the right fit, I'm pretty unattached. It doesn't matter. I come from a place of abundance where I have so many cool people like yourself.
Mhm.
Like, I have so many great friends out there that, I love introducing friends to friends, or helping finding ways to help my friends. So
Me too.
if you're not up for it, that's cool too. you know
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that when you're just meeting somebody, it's
yeah,
okay to detach pretty easily. Like, I
yeah,
think a lot of things that trigger me are like if people are just trying to like impose whatever they're doing on you, without listening to like,
yeah,
hey, let me, share your story. Because people love talking about themselves, but then having that mutual exchange of, it's not like, hey, tell me about you, and then I'm never going to tell you about me.
yeah,
Or, hey, let me just tell you about you, and I don't care, but I just want you to listen and hear how like much of a badass I am. Like, it's it is it, you have to find that balance in terms of like that, the give and take in that
mm,
relationship. And those other people who have those opposing sides, like maybe those people are who kind of mingle together, because it's like, oh, I'm too afraid to talk about myself, but they're talking, so that kind of fills that buffer, and maybe that's just how things go.
Yeah.
But I think that what the one struggle is that I'm not really sure is just like once you have a close relationship, business relationship, whatever, what happens when like the trust is there and everything's good and then something changes, something shifts.
Yeah.
And it usually ends up being some form of miscommunication or whatnot. And then it's like if you avoid it, but it's like an elephant in the room, how do you deal with it? Because I feel
Mm,
like once I get attached to somebody and I've seen that, okay, they want to be vulnerable with me, they want to do all that stuff, but all of a sudden, like something shifts and it feels weird and it feels awkward. Like I don't
yeah.
know how to do that because I'm like, I'm already like attached to you and now I don't know how to let go. So I'm still trying to
Yeah.
figure that out. I mean, and
Yeah.
I think it's more prominent for me because of the way that I conduct my business with my clients. But
But I think it's a great thing that you're having these type of things too, man. Like because it just like it's kind of like one of those like I don't know. Do you have those ride or die friends in your life? You've gone through certain situations together, and they might have sucked. It might have sucked, but it's like those moments where those are determining moments that determine how close you guys are, and it's those
yeah,
moments that bring you so much closer together, man.
totally.
And I actually, it's never comfortable. Like I never enjoy having those conversations, but it's kind
Mhm.
of like after I'm just like, hey, I like maybe I'll open up and I'll just be like, hey, I don't really like having this conversation, but I think it's important for our friendship, or I think it's important to set clear expectations because I want to understand what best helps you.
Yeah.
But after, it always feels so great
So
and
much better. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, yeah. And, there's, one of my friends, like, it took me
yeah,
10 years to tell her how I was feeling and I was frustrated about something that happened in like 2006. And I was so afraid because of so many things. And the second that I finally like opened up and talked about it, like everything was fine. And meanwhile, then I was like, great, I'm going to communicate more, and then I lost a friend because I was
oh,
too more communicative than they wanted me to be. And so,
yeah,
and that's on the friendship side of things. But I mean, again, like we were talking about how, we treat some of our business relationships as if they are our friends. We go in with that deep trust, and unless
yeah.
there's unless otherwise told, like
But I think that's the beauty about you, man. Like it's like that's your authentic self. You
yeah,
love to lead with heart, man, and all that. And I think that's what makes you a great coach too,
yeah. Except when I get angry and I have to like hold back and be like, you don't mess with me, because like, oh gosh, like if people mess with me, like I can be ruthless and doing it out of love, but like also because I'm so vulnerable, like
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking about it to somebody. So that like whatever you did to upset me is
Yeah.
going to be told to somebody. I need a place to vent. And maybe it might just be my husband or maybe it'll be my coach, but like it also might be people who both know us. Like those things have to happen, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the price that you pay. Everybody who's going to become a friend of mine down the road, like you cross me, like I'm going to be very open about it because I am a very open person, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry in advance, but that's if that cautions you, then turn away now.
No, it's great being friends with you, man.
No, you too. Yeah, it's been so great. But anyways, I know that we're wrapping up, and
Oh
we could
yeah.
probably talk about this stuff like forever, and we could go on for hours. But I wanted to close with one question that came from my community that people can ponder on, and that we can both kind of discuss as we
Okay.
say goodbye. But this was a question that came in, and I thought it would be a good one for both of us to address,
Okay.
just knowing our background. So the question
Yeah.
is, what is the best safety net you can set for yourself if you want to quit your job to develop your own business?
Oh, I'm gonna be polarizing on this one, man. Um,
Okay, do it.
all right, I'm gonna say, you know what? Safety nets are bullshit. Here's why I think so. It's because like at the end of the day, like I never like okay, so just to get a little background on me, I was trying to build my business while staying in pharmacy. And the biggest push I ever had was getting fired because I don't think I would ever fully launch my business. And while I was launching things, having things fail, figuring things out, I realized that a safety net was the number one thing that what it basically said to me that I wasn't confident enough to make things work out. And as soon as I made the shift from like, hey, you know what, I have this plan B to this is my plan A. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it work out. um I started getting results, and it was crazy. It was a crazy mind shift. And I know, like, yeah, there's that logical side, and other people will argue the other side, but like for me, I'm going based off my experience, and I was like, burning the ships, I love it. That's what I thrive on. I
Yeah.
thrive on drinking out of the fire hose, and I thrive on just figuring things out as I go. So yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, and I completely agree with you because I don't think that I mean, I never had any desire to start my own business, write my own book, do any of those things. And so, but then it was also like, hey, I don't just want to be like a housewife and, stay home and like, yeah, I need to have purpose and
Mm.
whatever, money is tied to that, whatever. But like, of course, like I would love to make the money that I was making when I was working the 9 to 5 job. But,
Yeah.
um, so I do think like sometimes you need that push to just
Yeah.
go for it because you otherwise like when you have the safety thing to fall back on, you're not going to move. It's
Commitment.
going to take a while. And
Yeah.
so, but from the practical side to give the opposite,
Yeah.
perspective on that is I always tell anybody who is trying to make a job transition from working a 9 to 5 or, working a job but being employed by somebody to working for yourself to develop your own business. If financial stability is important to you, do
Okay.
not jump that ship when you don't have that financial stability. So like I wouldn't just say like cuz there's this piece of like if you don't have anything, if you're just like the money that you make is going to like be supporting you and you don't have like just the basic like I can't keep my you know
Yeah.
my whatchamacallit, like I can't pay my rent and I can't eat food, like I wouldn't go into a business idea that way. Like I would actually have some sort of like stable piece of or, just some stability where it's like, okay, I've got this figured out. And as I'm, or have some stuff money saved up or something like
Yeah.
that, where I can just pay for some of those things because you don't want to just be like, oh my God, I'm going to grow this business from nothing. And I have like, if I need to get this one client so that I can put food on the table, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I understand like you might have, you might just be like, okay, I need to have this running and you need to make that good transition at the right time. But I think also if you have the desire to completely shift over, get yourself in a place where you're comfortable and then cut the cord and then, have to figure that out from there. So you could do
Yeah.
some planning before you go. And I know that you were trying to do those businesses um
Oh,
at the
that's
same
fucking
time, which is hard. Everything moves slower, right?
yeah.
And I think, I mean, I look at myself too, and my business is slower because I have to like, end my day and then become a mom. Like I can't sit here and spend my entire waking hour trying to run my business and
Yeah.
make those connections in the way. So I have to know that everything's going to move slower for me. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
But
I think
can I
there's
add one more thing?
yeah,
Um, I think if you are going to stay at your job and try and make sure that financial stability, if I were to go that same route, I would make sure that I learn some sort of high income skill, whether it's coaching, whether it's closing, whether it's marketing, whether it's something, right? One of the quickest ways to leave a 9 to 5 is definitely client services by
yeah,
far, rather than create like a productized like course or like,
yeah,
dude, definitely client services is one of the quickest ways. So
totally.
I don't want to leave your audience with like, hey
No, no,
man,
no,
quit your
no.
job,
No, yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't say, I mean, some people will quit their job because it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I need the time
Yeah.
to actually like think about where I want to go, and that's totally fine. But just don't do it when you're like absolutely broke, right? Because then if
Or
you're
if
trying to
people
create a
depend on you.
business, you're also creating that business out of
Yeah.
like desperation,
Desperation. Yeah.
and you want to be able to like say like I've taken enough time to like think about it, and it takes some time to like build a business up, and so you just have
Definitely.
to be in a good place where you're not like super broke and like I can do it. But that also at the same token might be the thing that you need to do to get that hustle spirit in you. So I mean, it's a balance of the two. Like, just make sure that you're set, or you've got, put a little bit of planning into it is
I,
just my.
I think you do a good job of emphasizing context. It depends. Like one of the things I
Yeah.
love that you said was like it depends on your personality. And some people they just can't live off the instability of like figuring shit out. But
Yeah. And I mean, some people love like the stress of not knowing where their next check is coming from, or their next client is coming from. That's not me. Like, so, I just I'd have to have something stable, and then, figure out all of this, because that's just my personality. But anyways, hope that answered the question, whoever asked that. But anyways, Kevin, thank you so much. There was other things that we were gonna do, but I don't know. I wanted to like play a game with you, but we played a lot of games today, so that was cool. We'll have to do that off the air, and I'm all fuzzy.
yeah,
Fuzzy. Get in focus.
focus.
Focus. There we
There
are.
you
There we
go.
are. But thank you so much for being here. I had such a blast, and we'll probably talk some more after we shut down. But thank you so much for everyone who is watching. And if you have any questions, then you can reach out to either of us, and we will see you at the next Cheerful Conversations in a few weeks. Bye.
Woo. Bye.